come and take a seat while I bring the heat. I'm your host with the most. My name is Dizzy, and I'm definitely going to keep you busy.
Grand rising, grand afternoon, grand evening, wherever you are in the world, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Sit Down Sundays with me, your host with the most, Dizzy, and I'm definitely going to keep you busy. So every week we have an exciting guest, and we're sticking with the subject of passion and purpose. And last week we had the most excited guest we've ever had on the show, Miss Ghazala Jabeen, my fellow genie. And after the explosive and energetic and just the whole synergy we had with this lady, I said to her, Ghazala, who can you recommend that I have on the show next? So when she recommends somebody, I'm laying out the red carpet. And so let me introduce you to our next exciting guest. And that's it. I looked a little bit into his history and I thought, wow, I'm excited. Welcome, Russ Devan, to Sit Down Sundays. Welcome.
It's very. I'm very honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I mean, look, like I said, I looked into a little bit of who you are and a snippet into your life, and I got excited straight away, purely because I saw a lot of my own life in there. So first of all, how did you meet Ghazala, first of all, so we can follow the process from last week's interview to where we are today?
Well, I love this story, so I'm more than happy to tell it. It goes back about 20 years, actually, and I own a company called Success by Design, and I have sourced a very different kind of training that I call untraining. And someone from the UK had come to the United States and heard me speak, and they asked if I would come over to the UK and do a series of seminars on my untraining, which I was more than happy to do. And one of the students in those seminars was Ghazala Jabeen and her husband, Martin. And that moment, that weekend, formed a lifetime friendship where we stayed in touch and communicated. And I have watched Ghazala go from an already powerful woman to a worldwide and international business success. And she's been a bright light in my life. She's been one of my most proud, I don't want to say students. She's probably taught me as much as I've taught her, but,
Yeah.
but associates. But more than that, we're dear, dear friends. So that's how that came about.
Amazing. So when I said to her, we were talking about, because she had played quite a keen role in this whole World Transformation Day, the organization, you know, the giving back to community. She was a driving force behind it, and my coming on board, I spoke to the organizers. I said, who else have we got? And Harinder goes, oh, we've got Ghazala Jabeen. And I'd always seen her name. I'd not looked into her too much, but I knew there was a great energy. And last week's interview was the beginning of something beautiful. And that story that you said, I can see that in my life with her too, because she is that individual. So, like I said, we're having inspiring conversations every Sunday. And the idea is these conversations are going to transform something. And I think we're at a crucial time in life, you know, with what's been going on in the world.
Yes.
I think it's been a catalyst for people to find out who they are inside. Because if you're locked in your house for 18 months, what's the best thing that you could do? And what you're doing, which is unlearning, I think is perfect. Reason being, we have been taught so many things that we unconsciously do. But whether you know that you've been taught them consciously or unconsciously can be another subject. But the fact that people are doing stuff, I've said to people, look, in this time that we've been locked in our houses, how have you spent your time? For me, I've become who I was supposed to be in life. It's allowed me to be the real me, the real 100% authentic me.
Yes.
That was here because I dare to be me. And that happened in this lockdown period. And it helped. I knew my purpose. I just wasn't sure how I was going to show it.
Right.
But I'm in full beam now. There's no restriction. I'm fully expressed. And that's why I do the show. And that then has allowed me to bring other people in that can also shine another light. So, Russ, tell us about how you found your purpose and passion.
Well, this is going back 3-4 decades, but after being a success in business for about 10 years, I came to a point around 1990 where I had been on a path of personal development, and back then personal development was reading everything you could and listening to tapes and things like that. But I entered into a new phase of my growth where I took a course called Leadership, Productivity, and Service. And this course was a year-long course that you had to graduate. In order to graduate, you had to complete an important project.
Okay.
And my project was about changing a business model, or actually the model for business and things in business that I saw didn't work. And how I could measure that result was by producing an income using a new possibility for how business could work. And I created a company called Success by Design. And I did that because I found or believed, and all this is my opinion, of course, it doesn't make it true, but I discovered in my own experience and came to believe that the cultural paradigm is that success lives outside of ourselves somewhere, in some opportunity or some person or some thing. And my opinion was that it didn't, that it lives inside of ourselves. And it's something that many people are not thrown to be responsible for. So I called my company Success by Design because it reflected our own personal responsibility for what we were out to do in life. It was a course that was based in core values and discovering them. And I discovered that my core value was contribution. And God put on my heart that my purpose in life was to see other people's gift and show it to them. So I created a company that was based on changing business paradigms. For instance, the areas where people get stuck. And for 10 years, I'd watched people get stuck in the areas of looking for customers or prospecting, in the areas of selling and recruiting, and even in the areas of goal setting and time management. And when I looked at it closely, I discovered that so many of these things and how they've been taught to overcome are rooted in false beliefs. I'll give you an example. For instance, the example and the paradigm for prospecting, basically worldwide, all the things that tell you how to get prospects are based on an idea of the warm and the cold market. Would you agree? I mean, everything's against the backdrop of the warm and the cold market. Obviously, the warm market is people we know, and the cold market is people we don't. Well, okay. So do you think that the people you know are necessarily more likely to buy from you than people you don't? I say, no, they're not. And yet the perception is that they are. So let's say people go to that market and they frame different techniques and different ways to get at that market. And they decide, this really isn't where it is. I better try the cold market. Well, the cold market is people you don't know. So in the cold market, you need tips and techniques. So what do I say to get a stranger to do this or do that? Here was a breakthrough for me. What if whether you know someone or don't know them isn't what makes them a prospect? That takes the whole warm and cold market and turns it on its head. And I say, in my experience, it's not whether you know someone or don't know them that makes them a prospect. It's the conversation. So what comes next for people is, well, what do I say to get somebody to do something? Well, here's another one. What if it's not in what you say? What if it's in what you hear? So maybe if you get interested enough in the person you're talking to and listen, the right thing to say will come up organically. So I built a training around that, beginning that, and turned the model for selling and recruiting and goal setting and time management on their heads. But I've never positioned it as the right way or the best way or the new way to do something. It's just a possibility. And the reason I frame it as such is people have room to choose and believe around possibility. If you make something a
I like it.
position, then people resist. So I've built a life and a training out of my own personal experience and development and opinions, and created something called Success by Designs on Training. And my mission has been to support people in discovering how powerful they are, and that it's up to them to be responsible for their own success, that it doesn't live outside themselves. Neither does motivation. Motivation lives inside of ourselves. So the idea that we can keep people motivated is like plate spinning. The way to keep people in action is to find out what people are committed to and provide them a path to get it.
I like the sound of it. I love how you've put a different spin in it, because I've not heard what you've said the way you've said it about what you've said at all before. So I'm quite excited.
I hear that a lot.
Yeah, it's a different angle, and I know life is all about perspective, right? And you've opened another window, a view of looking at it, thinking, right.
Well, you see,
and I love it. Thank you for bringing that to the table, because we can. Doesn't matter how old you get, as you go through life, when you see a new perspective, after you've seen many perspectives. Yes. So thank you.
No. I don't want to take over the interview, but I get excited about this because I feel that there's so much that we don't see. And I was taught a paradigm many years ago that has to do with the way we learn, actually even the way we live. And there's three domains of how we're being in the world. One is the domain of what we know, the domain of knowledge. And what we know is the sum of everything we've known to this point and we've experienced. Then there's another domain. And that other domain is what we don't know. Okay. And what we don't know, we pretty much know. Like I don't know about quantum physics. But if I want to study quantum physics, I can, and I can study it and I can understand it and I can move it into the domain of what I know.
Yeah.
But there's a third domain. And this sounds like cocktail conversation, but it's really not. The third domain that we're not aware of, we're actually blind to, is the domain of what we don't know we don't know. Now, that sounds like you hear that. You hear newscasters toss it out, or somebody at a cocktail, oh, that's what you didn't know. No. If you don't know something, but you don't know it, you're blind to it. It doesn't exist for you. It's like the ontological explanation is it's like water to the fish. The fish doesn't know it's a fish. The fish doesn't know what water is, but it lives in it. It breathes in it. And that's how we are in the world. We're surrounded by things that we don't know, but they're right there in front of us. And there's plenty of examples of this that are everyday examples that people just aren't aware of. So I can give you one. If you've ever driven well, of course you've driven a car, but if you own a car, why is it that when you buy a car, that suddenly it's the only car you see?
Yeah.
Like, have you ever had the experience of buying a car and then all of a sudden there's one car next to you at the light or in a parking lot? It's the only car you see, because you have a unique distinction for that car. You don't go around noticing every car that exists. You have the distinction called your car. And in this type of in this world of ours, you
Mm.
can unconceal things that are right in front of you. You don't have to learn a bunch of new stuff. If you can learn to unconceal things that are already there, it's a
Mm.
much easier and much more fun way of going at knowledge.
Oh, 100%. So if you've got your notepads out, I hope you've been making notes. Otherwise, you're gonna have to rewind this once it's been gone live. So um, let's talk about, how does somebody become aware? If you're watching right now and you're feeling stuck, right now the notion out there is not empowering people. If you're not choosing an empowering, if you're choosing to watch
Empowering
this.
interpretation is what I would call it. So,
Okay.
so people, what we're thrown to do is just what's put in front of us. So if you can be open to another possibility, and much of this has to do with, actually, believe it or not, just how we listen.
Mm.
For instance, I don't teach people how to listen. They already are born listening, but it's how we listen. It's
Okay.
how we listen and how we listen to others that creates our world. So if we learn to listen and listen to others, not just act listening, like, you see, and the trouble is, we've got an already listening in our head. It's always there, like, do you like me? How do I get this? I disagree with you. All these things are going on when we're in conversation with people and we're not there. So if we can be open to a different interpretation, like if you are in any kind of sales or business situation, or let's say you're stuck at home, let's say the pandemic, look at the conversation around the pandemic. One of my greatest mentors and coaches told me something one day that changed my life. He said, it's not people or circumstances or events that impact us. It's our relationship to them. So if
Mm.
you begin to see things as another possibility, if you don't hear everything that's put out as the truth, if you start challenging and questioning and thinking about things and then deciding maybe a positive interpretation of something, there's two sides to everything in the universe.
Mm.
There's no such thing that has one side. So everything has another possibility.
Yes.
So if you live in possibility, if you start challenging, if you see what's congruent with your core values, if you begin to listen and be interested in other people, how different would this world be, Dizzy, if we could be open to another point of view that we didn't agree with? If just
Mm.
people just were willing to listen, not listen like it was true, not listen like it was something on us, but we had some choice around it, but we listened to it anyway and considered it. And if we wanted to have a different interpretation, we could.
Mm.
But instead, we let things disempower us out of how we're hearing them and what
Mm.
we think they mean. And they don't mean that. They're not necessarily so. And we have a choice. So that's that. If I could put one thing out today, I tell this to people who are in sales. If you really want to be powerful, the one thing that generally doesn't exist in a sales conversation is a choice. I mean, a real choice where one of the choices can be no. So what if you could offer a product, but saying no to it was all right, instead of trying to overcome that, you were just interested in it and it was okay. And to the degree that you can let no be there,
Mm.
yes is there as well. So it's like, what happens is, as soon as we start to resist no, as soon as we start to overcome it, as soon as we try to do that, we're making somebody wrong. How many people like to be wrong?
Nobody.
So I say that, for instance, sales is really about natural law. So if you take a position in sales, you take a position,
Mm.
what by natural law must every position have? Opposition. It has to be there. There is no, so sales by any definition is a force, and a force calls forth resistance. But the question would be this: is there resistance floating around in the universe somewhere looking for a place to happen? No. So if you remove force, resistance disappears. Has to. So resistance works best if you don't create it in the first place.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I mean this is just a little bit, but and as you can tell, I'm very opinionated.
Yes, I can see. Right. So look, what we're going to do, and I like what you're talking about, possibility, because it's a very easy thing to do. If you're asking someone, all you're doing is you're just saying, just listen. And that's something anybody can do. But talking about possibility, there was a song created for this organization, and I think you will like it. I don't know if you've heard it yet, but I always play it on the show, and I think this is the perfect opportunity to play this song. So
good.
Russ,
can't wait to hear it.
Enjoy.
This is a message for everyone who is listening. Hearts and minds connecting, building a world community. This is the moment the people are coming together. Spirit of transformation, reunite in the meaning of we. What is the biggest thing that you can dream of? What can you do to make it true? World Transformation Day, let's make a difference. You for me, and me for you. This is the moment, the signal, the klaxon, the ringing, the alarm to awaken, to ignite the passion within. Ready for changes, the spirit is stirred and shaken. Now we are primed to awaken. New chapters for us to begin. What is the biggest thing that you can dream of? What can you do to make it true? Well, Transformation Day, let's make a difference. You for me, and me for you. What is the biggest thing that you can dream of? What can you do to make it true? Well, Transformation Day, let's make a difference. You for me, and me for you. We can dream bigger. We open our eyes 'cause we forgot that we could see. We can dream better. We sing it aloud to be the best that we can be. Can be. Can be. What is the biggest thing that you can dream of? What can you do to make it true? Well, Transformation Day, let's make a difference. You for me, and me for you. Transformation. What is the biggest thing that you can dream of? What
So beautiful.
Gets, you know what? Every time I watch it, it
Yep.
brings a tear to my eye.
Absolutely beautiful. Yeah, it's gorgeous.
And
I love
I like
children.
the,
The
the, the,
children.
the
Yeah.
opening line was listening.
Listening.
Exactly what we've been talking about was the opening line of the song. So, yeah. Okay, so how does someone take some action? Let's talk about taking some action. What can something, what tell us something that, I mean, just the idea of listening, what you said just now, is a very small thing that anybody can do without too much, without any force. Because
Yes. And interestingly enough, it takes practice because we're thrown not no, listen, I want to be real clear about this. We're always listening. Even the hearing impaired listen. It's how we listen that's the important thing to understand. Most of the time, we're listening to ourselves. I call that automatic listening, and we're born with it. It's not something you can change, it's not something you can get rid of, but unless you can pay attention to it, you can't hear somebody else. You like most of the time when we're in conversation, as a matter of fact, I have a sister-in-law that has this down to an art form. She can look like she's listening, but she checked out 5 minutes ago. She's going, "Uh-huh, yes, oh, yes, yep, She's not there. She's thinking about what to say as soon as I finish talking, and I know that, okay? And the thing is, I'm telling one on me too because I do that as well. The point is, there's a different kind of listening. Imagine listening to someone like you're a blank piece of paper they're writing on. What if, when you were listening to someone, you were so interested in what they were saying, you listened for what they were committed to? You listened for what they were concerned about. Because if I'm going to add up people with just 2 words in a bundle, those 2 words would be concerns and commitments. That's what drives the actions of all human beings. And we're going through life feeling unheard, in relationships, at work, in business, anything you can think of. We're not heard. So how we get heard is to listen. If you just practice that, if you practice, it's kind of fun, actually. What would it be like if you opened a conversation with somebody and they said, "What do you want?" And you said, "I just want to listen. Talk to me." "No, no, what do you want? You want to sell me something?" "No, I just want to listen to what you have to say. Tell me what you're concerned about. Tell me what you think. Tell me your opinions. Tell me what works for you in life. Tell me your dreams. Tell me what you're scared of. Tell me what you're concerned about. Tell me about your children. Tell me about your family. Tell me about your work. Talk to me, because there is no end. I have a law. It's called Russ's law. Russ's law is a closed mouth gathers no feet. Okay? You can't make a mistake when you're listening. You can't. So it's like when you understand the power of that sooner or later, if you give someone enough, they're going to go, "Tell me about you." It has to happen because as soon as people feel heard, they get interested. Do you know why? Because you become the most interesting person they've ever talked to, because nobody ever heard them before or said, "I don't want anything. I just want."
I just had an aha moment then. I've just realized why some people, whenever I go to parties, I'll get on with somebody and nobody else likes them. And they'll be like, "They're such an idiot." And I'm like, "Nah, man, they're really amazing." And
Yeah.
it's obviously because I've just listened.
Yes. And that's where the connectedness is.
Yeah.
Connection, everything happens when somebody's heard. And see, there's children that aren't heard, there's parents that aren't heard,
Yeah.
There's subordinates that aren't heard. There's managers that aren't. Everybody has this thing, and they can't understand why they're not communicating. It's I'm not heard and you're not heard. Now have a relationship. You can't.
Wow.
It's like just if people knew how powerful. Listen, Dale Carnegie said probably 100 years ago something very profound. He said, "Interested people are interesting." You just spoke it about you at a party. Interested people are interesting.
Yeah.
If you get interested in somebody, and by the way, it's really tough to blow that one. You can't really well get that wrong. Being interested. Nobody ever stopped you and said, "Wait a minute, you're just a little too interested in my life." You know,
It doesn't happen.
they don't. You're just too warm to me. What are you up to? It's like people only get that when it's not authentic.
Mm.
When you're setting, have you ever heard trainers say, "Listen, here's some good small talk." What small talk? Small talk? That was that to kind of season them up for the kill? No, there is no small talk being interested. There's no talk at all. It's over there with them. Listening is a gift you give someone,
Mm.
and they feel like they've been given a gift because someone finally is interested in them. I can't overstate it.
No, it is that book by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
One of my all-time favorites.
Oh my goodness me, yeah. One of
It's
the all
powerful.
so powerful.
Yeah.
I was privileged enough to find that book early on in my life. Upon my travels, when I left home and went to London, I guess one of the books that I got recommended, and I've embraced it ever since. And it's served me every day of my life. I understand, and it's that thing. Who's everyone's most favorite person?
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. And what's the station everybody listens to? WIIFM, right?
Yeah,
What's in it for me? So yeah, that's absolutely right.
Amazing. It's amazing that after every conversation I've had with so many people, that's always one book and one subject that you can't escape, because it is the kryptonite for everybody, right? It doesn't matter who you are. And I guess because if you, like you said, if you're authentic with the person and you are genuinely interested in that person, I get fascinated by people. We had a meeting with a gentleman on Thursday in London, and I was intrigued by the meeting before. And one of the guys who organized the meeting, he said, "I've got a feeling, Dizzy, you and this guy, it's going to be dangerous." and it was almost like meeting myself 10 years time. So this gentleman's 10 years older than me, but it's like we're cut from the same cloth.
Yeah.
And we ended up a 2-hour meeting ended up lasting 8 hours.
Wow.
We were two peas in a pod.
That's wonderful. That's great.
Wow. So one of the differences that personal development makes to the individual, because conventional education is not what we're talking about. So with World Transformation, what we've done is we've created a school in the slums of Delhi, and we're teaching personal development, yoga, meditation, and teaching the parents new possibilities, because one of the conversations that happened in the slums was, why should we send our kids to school? They're from the slums, they're never going to make it anyway, so there's no point giving them an education. So what's happened since our academies open in the slums, we partnered up with somebody, and I'm going to play a short video on the difference that this information we've talked about now and that possibility is being given to children in India through our academy. And I just want to quickly share that, because that's the cause that we're here for. And I think it just marries the two, because what we're talking about and listening and what we're doing for the children in the slum is the same thing. So I'm going to quickly play this video.
This is a personal appeal to all our friends and family around the world. In April 2018, we launched World Transformation Academy right in the heart of the slum in New Delhi in India. On a regular basis, we have both the slum children and their parents being transformed with sessions of life coaching, yoga, and meditation. Regularly, up until now, we have between 500 to 600 people attending these sessions every month. The cost is approximately about £1,000 a month. Our vision is to expand this to all slums around the world.
So we've been able to do this work with the help of our generous sponsors. But what we'd like to do now is to continue and expand the work that we're doing, is to open the opportunity out to more people to get involved. So if this is something that you would like to get involved in, please connect with the World Transformation Organization, or you can make a donation, whether it's a monthly payment or a one-off payment, using our Just Giving link.
Did you know over 65 million people live in slums all over India, and 6 million of them are children? There are more rapes and suicides in slums than anywhere else in India. We want to impact these figures with your partnership. So we really need your help right now. This is a personal appeal to all of those that love making a difference. We urge you to generously contribute to our cause through the Just Giving link, and watch the 6-minute video that follows this, just to get a real feel of the difference that your money will make. This is an amazing cause. We look forward to your partnership.
I live in Kalkaji slum area, and I want to be an IPS officer because I want to stop the crimes and rapes for girls and these things. I want to change my sister's life.
17% of women experienced some form of physical violence in the past year. Individual factors related to the husband, like poor socio-economic status, consumption of alcohol, extramarital relationships. Reported cases vary from domestic violence to brutal rapes, mental harassment to sexual violence. Many more cases go unreported. A woman is raped every 20 minutes in India, National Crime Records Bureau.
I'd like to narrate a small incident that one of our volunteers narrated to me. She said that there was this young lady who had come over for her 3 introductory sessions of meditation. And on the 3rd day, when she had a one-on-one session with the trainer, she broke down completely, and she said that, last night I wanted to commit suicide because my husband is a gambler, he doesn't work, and whatever money that I get home, he takes it all and spends it all in gambling, and there's no use of my life. My life has been a struggle, and her mother-in-law was so scared and petrified that she sat beside her throughout the night, scared that she would take that extreme step. And in the morning she got up, she got dressed, and she came for her meditation session.
About 800,000 people commit suicide worldwide every year. Of these, 135,000, 17%, are residents of India, a nation with 17.5% of the world's population. Almost 6 million children live in the slums of India and has the highest rate of child sex ratio. 8.9% of the total victims of rape were girls under 14 years of age, while 16.1% were teenage girls 14 to 18 years. Over 65 million people live in the slums of India. Slum dwellers usually earn $1,900 a year. Young slum girls on their way to defecate in the open fields are abducted, raped, and at times hung from a tree, as in the case of the murder of 2 minor Dalit girls in Badon village near Delhi. Since the launch of its personal development school in the New Delhi slum, World Transformation Organization, through its regular life coaching, meditation, yoga, and motivational training, has started to transform the lives of slum children and their parents. For the first time in their lives, the slum community is being taught how to create dreams and goals, and have started their journey to realize them.
As you can see, Russ, the work this organization is doing is so important because we've already had footage. So for those of you that haven't seen, we did a live broadcast from the slum. Every month they do an event where they take the parents and the kids, teach them yoga, personal development, life coaching, teaching them new possibilities. So this is perfectly, it's all synergized with everything that we're doing. So I want to say, do you have anything you want to share else, anything you want to add? I think I'd like to round it off at 44 minutes and 44 seconds. I can see that perfect synergy coming up. So Russell, if you'd like to add any more.
Well, I'd just like to say, Dizzy, it's been a pleasure to be here. I certainly want to get behind the WTO and contribute in any way I can financially, with also from the heart. If I can contribute anything that I know or teach that would make a difference there, it touches my heart. And I want to tell you something about that with me. I've had some health challenges in the last few years, not out of anything I've done, just life really, and getting older, I think. But I've dedicated the rest of my life to making a difference in the world. And I'm out to, through my training, produce 1,000 cash flow millionaires by August 1st of 2023. But not just for that purpose. The purpose is that they will pay it forward and contribute 1/12 of their next million to my foundation, which is called the Success by Design Global Foundation, which is designed to contribute to programs like this specifically. I've been given so much. I'm a blessed man. I've had a wonderful family, incredible opportunities, just one blessing after another. And it's incumbent on me to pay it forward in life. So I intend to live the rest of my life for contribution, to create and make a difference in the world. So that when I die, that's what I'll be remembered for. And it's a great opportunity for me to be given to be here, to learn about the WTO, and to do for it whatever I can.
Wow. Well, I can definitely say this won't be our last conversation. This is our first conversation, but definitely not our last. Because I love what you said today. I think there's a lot of synergies. I can see exactly what Ghazala meant when she said what she said. I can see perfect synergies. She said, Dizzy, you're going to love this guy. And those were her words. She goes, you have to get him on your show. You have to. So Ghazala, thank you very much.
Yes.
Russ, thank you.
Thank
we
you
are
for the
almost
wonderful blessing.
We're almost coming to that golden figure. So I've
Okay.
got my finger on the button. We shall speak after this. And like I said, I'm truly grateful to share the stage. I know you've shared the stage with many great people. And
God bless you, Dizzy. God bless
thank you very much.
God bless this organization.